So valuation is differential, and valuation has this active component. Now, Nietzsche basically then thinks that this process of valuation cannot, therefore depends on a kind of psychic tension in the human soul. The human soul can find the world good only if it differentiates. If it differentiates, that means it's in a state of tension. Then he thinks that that psychological tension can only really be maintained in a society that's hierarchically organized. So you can't simply have people who are in the appropriate psychological state of tension so that they can produce that which is new. With that as a kind of freestanding structure, that structure has to be embedded in a hierarchical structure. So I can only find T better in a new way if I stand in a society of ranks where there are people who are qualitatively, who are classified as qualitatively distinct. He calls this the pathos of distance. So he draws from this the conclusion that we need slavery. So remember, Nietzsche has a completely different view of slavery from Aristotle. Aristotle thinks slavery is necessary because who's going to do the work? Nietzsche says slavery is important because we need people to hold in contempt. What's really important about slavery is not what the slaves do. What's really important about slavery is it's a social recognition of distance between the masters and the slaves, and that's important so that the masters can despise the slaves. Because only by despising the slaves can they maintain the kind of internal psychological tension which is a necessary condition for them to engage in the activity of valuing, and therefore valuation requires slavery. So the result of this is, as he says, all forms of egalitarianism, social egalitarianism, are essentially decadent. Because any form of social egalitarianism is a way of doing away with hierarchical organization of society, but if the hierarchical organization of society is necessary for there to be the internal tension, which is the necessary condition for creation, then if you have a society with no internal hierarchical structures, a society of egalitarianism, that society will definitely, sooner or later, become decadent. It will lose the ability to discriminate and differentiate in the way that's necessary for it to be able to really to see itself as a value, as a value. And that's the central idea. The one thing we know about Nietzsche is the thing he always hated was democracy. We know from the very beginning. He as a young man, he withdrew from a student fraternity because the student fraternity was insufficiently hierarchically organized. He says, I'm not going to, now the student fraternities were themselves already elite organizations. And he said, I'm withdrawing it because it's becoming too democratic. So from the very, very beginning, he's against this. And this is, and now I'm not, as I said, I'm putting this argument in a structured way that Nietzsche himself wouldn't have preferred, but I'm giving it to you in this form because I think although he wouldn't have preferred it to be presented in this way, it might make it easier for you to see what the structure is. So that's what the central structure is. Now, next time I'm going to start going through the genealogy of morality. So if you want actually to follow what's going on, you might begin to read the genealogy of morality. I'll start with the first essay and go through. Okay, thank you.